my name is Supermo, and you're welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Teesas Podcast. And joining me today is my fantastic co-host, Ebuka, who is always ready to discuss trendy educational topics with me.
Hi, my name is Ebuka. Today we are talking about parenting in digital age, balancing screens and studies. With the big questions, are smartphones helping or ruining our education system in Nigeria? Mo, what do you think?
I honestly think that digital devices, when managed properly, can help the education system. Take, for instance, in Nigeria, when these things are managed properly, in situations where students have to juggle examination preparation with social media, I feel like parents find it quite difficult to navigate whether or not their children should have access to screen. You know, one moment they are using their apps to play video games, another moment they are using it for learning. You know, today we want to explore how to make these screens work for education and not against education.
Yeah, to add to what you said, when I was younger, we had chalkboards and TV screens. And I remember on Thursdays, we used to have this live show and all that. We used to watch that. So we had time when we know that, okay, this is for this and this is for that. Now, but the issue coming up with the internet access we have in Nigeria, where a child has, they have the access to powerful mobile devices, I don't think it's really helping us. And the UNESCO report shows that all Nigerian students spend an average of 4 hours on their screens. Yet our academic scores keep slipping. You can see what happened with JAM this year. We are always going down, down, down. We are not it's not looking bright on our side. So for me, I do not believe that smartphones and digital education is actually helping us.
Ibuka, interesting perspective you have there. But I like to proudly highlight some tools like the Teesas Parents app, which helps parents manage screen time without stress. It's so easy. It helps them set study schedules for their kids, and it also helps them block distracting apps during homework and also prioritize educational platforms. So it's like having a virtual parenting assistant where you can actually keep an eye on what your child, engage in during their screen time.
Yes, correct, but there should be limits. Experts suggest that less than 2 hours of recreational screen time on 14s. But with online classes now common practice in Nigeria, we also have cases of cyberbullying, online trolls, and whatnot, and sometimes peer pressure. Having a parent monitoring their screen time can inversely be like too much workload on the parents.
I'm sure our viewers have mixed experiences. One parent says online tutorials help their child excel in exams. But another worries about inappropriate content, which I agree. The invention of smartphones helping out, or whether it's just a distraction, is a thing I think we should explore. Is a topic I think we should critically discuss. So drop your thoughts in the comment section, dear viewers. We will read them. And you never can tell, we might feature you in our next episode.
Well, Supermo, I am particularly thrilled to bring in our guest today. Pastor Mrs. Ifoma, she's a content creator, a social media manager, and she has 4 kids. Imagine having all these and having 4 children. Right. So I believe that she has great experience and expertise in our conversation today. And I also have a person who I would like to have her video played for us. She has a lot of experience on this, so I would love to see her on our screen.
Interesting. So, dear viewers, stay tuned. After this break, Ebuka sits out, and I'll sit down with Pastor Mrs. Ifoma for a deep talk. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Let's make this episode go viral. This is the Teesas Podcast, empowering parents across Nigeria.
Hi, my name is Gladys Osime, and thank you for asking me to speak to this topic. Honestly, it is a very sensitive topic, extremely sensitive. We all know that it is a digital age, and our children can't actually get some work done. Most of the, schoolwork done without having to use a computer, search something online, do research, or any other thing like that. The problem now is, how do we balance it? As a parent, I'm going to use my own POV. What I do is, thankfully, the devices they use have parental control, right? I make sure that when they're doing the assignments, it's monitored even when I'm there or when I'm not there, because you can never tell. A logarithm, something can just throw something, unseemly to their timeline, and they start watching, or an ad pops up, what they're not supposed to see, porn or whatever. So we really need to be careful. It's something we need, and it's something that we have to be very wary of. Screen time. Now, screen time has two types. We're talking about TV, television, or screen time, using their devices. For me, my household, there's no screen time during the week, during the school week, because why would you be watching TV? You come back from school, you're tired, maybe you have after school as well. You're done from after school, and then you have to do your homework, and then maybe study, you have to eat, so there's no screen time in my household during the week. The weekend, yes, after you've done all your homework, your chores, yes, you can, watch a little bit of TV, and that as well is monitored. They know they're not supposed to watch adult content, right? So it's not something that we can do away as parents. It is stressful, because if you want to give them these devices, you have to be intentional, and you have to balance it. They should know when to go out to play, when to have outdoor games, to socialize with people. We all know social media is becoming a menace, and we have, all manner of monsters behind, a device trying to talk a child into something else. So it's good for their education, it's good for the exposure to know tech, but it's also dangerous for them. So how do we do it? That's where the parenting comes in. We have to be very intentional about what we put in their hands. It's a tool. It can be a tool to make or mar them. So that's my contribution to this topic. It's good, but you have to be intentional about it. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Teesas Podcast. Today we are joined by an extraordinary woman, Pastor Ifeoma Chidogwu, a mother, a pastoral leader, and master content creator who uses humor and storytelling to deliver life-changing messages. Through her viral social media skits as Mama Equitos, she brings everyday Nigerian realities to life, captivating thousands of organic followers worldwide with her thought-provoking and entertaining content. A published author of insightful books like I Survived Widowhood and Unlocking the Path to Prosperity. Pastor Ifeoma, alongside her husband, Pastor Okudili, empowers couples, widows, and leaders to thrive in marriage, wealth creation, and personal growth. Honored with awards like Woman of Courage and a global recognition for strategic leadership, she's also a culinary star, placing second in a national Maggi cooking competition. Pastor Ifeoma is living proof that women can break barriers and inspire legacies. Welcome to the Teesas Podcast, Pastor Ifeoma. It's such a delight to have you on the show today. How are you doing, ma?
I'm good. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. We are super happy to have you. So let's jump into it already. I have so much to ask. I've read a lot about you. I'm really eager to tap into your bowl of knowledge. So with all the phones, tablets, and computers around us today, it's a digitalized world now. How do you think this has affected how parents approach their children's education? What do you think might happen to kids in the long run because of this?
Okay, I'm a parent and I'm a mother. I actually have 4 kids.
Interesting.
Okay, 2 graduates, medical doctors.
Wow.
And then 1 about to get into the university and 1 in secondary school. So when it comes to technology, I've really seen it. Okay, so they need technology for their homework. They need it for research. They need it for learning, with all the tutorial apps and everything. But for everything that has pro, there is a con.
Definitely.
All right, so I know that as parents, we have concerns. As much as children need technology for learning, blended learning, because right now you can actually even be in the bus and be on your tablet, be on YouTube. There's absolutely nothing you cannot learn on YouTube. from braiding hair to everything about books to makeup to fashion and so on and so forth. But you see, what I've discovered when it comes to my kids, sometimes they get so distracted. You know, the other day, my daughter was just leaving the house, and I was calling her from the window, but she had her ears blocked with earphones. She didn't hear me. I kept shouting and shouting. It was only when I called her on the phone and called persistently because it was vibrating that she even knew somebody was calling her. And I said, look, keep one ear free. So if there's an emergency, you'll know. And then with this technology thing, you find out that children have short attention span. True. You know, because they are rushing to go and play games, they're rushing to go and do one thing or the other. You know, you're telling them something. You send my little boy, he goes upstairs, he comes back with half of the message. You know, he can get you a plate and forget the spoon. We just have to find ways to strike balances, let me put it that way.
I love that you've experienced it, you know, practically. You've seen kids having to grapple with attention, but seeing that you have experienced this as a parent because you live with them and you're able to put caution and all of that. How do you think, seeing that technology is now becoming a bigger part of their lives, we don't have a choice at this point, do you believe that outside of the home environment, going to schools, do you believe schools have the primary responsibility on how to teach children to be smart and safe when using this technology? Because you brought up a point of your kids getting distracted. Now they have to deal with distraction, focus alongside using their digital tools. Do you think school should be given this primary responsibility of ensuring that they're actually responsible while using their digital tools like their tablets and all of that?
I am an accountable parent. So as much as I would like to say that, yes, the responsibility lies with the school, I also know that parents have their part. It's just that parents can only teach what they know. Okay, so I take it that the school has the wealth of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, they should teach them. And there's actually so much to teach. You know, when those kids are on the internet, for instance, you can actually be chatting a man thinking it's a woman,
yes.
and vice versa. You know, a lot of things have gone wrong. You know, we have scammers. Children need to know how to protect their information, how to protect their boundaries, how to protect their digital information, and so on and so forth, right? And then they also need to know how to interact online with people. Let me give you an example. Not too long ago, some lady went for a tummy talk, and she passed away. People had been bullying her that her tummy was large and all that. Now, you see, if you're not tough, you don't have a business being online. Okay? So technology has exposed us to that level where everybody is online. So the school has to inculcate in students how to persevere, how to be resilient, how to be tough. You know, how to confront the world without chickening out. You know, somebody bullies you, it's either you face the person headlong or you ignore the person. But you have to find what works for you and go about it. So there's actually so many things the school can teach. Safety usages of technology and so on and so forth. And I think the school should also teach children creativity, how to use technology creatively to achieve results. All right. So, yes, the school. But the home front should also
do their own
bit.
I mean, charity begins at home. I love the fact that you said you're an accountable parent, and I tell people that the family is the first social institution in the society. That is where the upbringing starts from. And more importantly, I love the fact that you are seeing it from a cohesive point of view. It takes both the parents, the schools, and the teachers. And more importantly, something we do not really talk about enough, because yes, everybody wants to buy their kids tablets, not really paying attention to the fact that you're exposing them to the digital world. And I love that you agree with me that schools also, they have a role to play. But then, are there key things you think that schools and teachers should do particularly to prepare these students for the digital world? Can you share some with us?
Like getting them to think critically. You know, things are not always how they seem. True. You know, so they have to be critical thinkers. They have to be able to sieve the chaff from the wheat online.
Yeah.
Okay, and they have to know the healthy boundaries of using technology. In fact, my first son, and I know he's listening to me right now, can sleep on his tablets.
Oh, wow.
You get into his room, he's sleeping, and he's practically lying
On his tablets.
top of it. So you see, there has to be times for using these gadgets. There has to be, just healthy ways. People are eating these days. They're not communicating. There's no interpersonal relationship with people they're sitting on the dining table with.
True.
You know, everybody is pressing their phone. And you see, it has affected the way we relate. People are over-dependent on themselves. People are too into themselves. There's no social interaction anymore, and so on and so forth. So I think these are the type of things that teachers should be teaching. That, yes, you have gadgets, you have tablets, you have what and what, but you should still know the importance of interpersonal relationships, still know the importance of expressing yourself, verbalizing what you feel, because these days a lot of people internalize a lot. That's why you see a full-grown man, you know, preying on a young girl and saying, don't tell, and she doesn't tell. But you see, whether at home or in school, like I told you, I'm an accountable parent. I encourage my children to speak up, to communicate, to express themselves. And that way we can have better quality of children.
Interesting. So I have something to ask you, and I'm sure I'll be speaking for all parents, because when you see, it's really rare to see parents that are actually self-aware and accountable. Now, I'm curious to know how you've been able to draw the line between actually teaching your children on how to fare, how to cope in the digital world, and respecting their privacy. You mentioned earlier you have 2 graduates, and I'm sure when they were teenagers, you must have had your own fair share of, you have your screen time is over, you have to take care of it. How have you been able to, you know, maintain that balance with respecting their privacy and also putting cautionary measures?
You know why I'm laughing? Because for me, it was fight to finish.
I can't tell.
When you have small kids, you know, you have the opportunity of parental controls and all of those things. You know, you can tell them to sit and they sit. You tell them to stand, they stand. But when they start growing, you start hearing things like, Mommy doesn't understand. Hey? Mommy, you won't understand. What won't I understand? I gave birth to you.
Right.
So because of technology now, Mommy doesn't understand. And you know, sometimes you want to use technology and you're calling them to teach you. So they actually feel they know more than you. But, well, I have conversations with them. I sit them down and I tell them that there's time for everything. All right? There's time for everything. If you're going to have to use your technology to study, to do your homework, to learn new things, and so on and so forth, it's fine. I understand. But there has to be a time for it. Yeah. I've had to seize my 2 sons' laptops. You know, you're calling them to help you do something, and they feel disturbed. Right. They are annoyed. You could visibly see it all over them, written on them as in, Mommy is disturbing us. And I said, no.
Not under my watch.
Not under my watch, really. So what I do is, if they must, they're even on vacation anyway. So if they must use their tablets or their laptops, I give it to them. They use, and they return it. Especially when they have to go and sleep. Because you go to their rooms at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., they're playing games, They are programming one thing or the other. And then in the morning, they're tired. They're not refreshed. And things like that. So we've had to fight it out, and everybody knows where mommy stands.
It's fine now. I love that so much. I think another thing I would like to know more about is parents are actually role models for their children. And I mean, I read so. I'm not a parent, but also from my own perspective about parenting, growing up with my parents, I'm able to do things faster when I see my parents do it. So if my mom is saying, oh, you press phone too much, if my mom is not always on her phone, then it will be easier for me to adjust. So how do you think parents can also play a huge role in positively impacting these kids when it comes to their screen time on social media? You agree with me now that parents are on TikToks 24/7, and then you're trying to caution a child on a minimalistic use of their screen time. But if you're always on your phone, I wonder how then are you able to communicate that? So what advice do you have for parents? How can they serve as role models when it comes to good use of screen time?
Okay, actually, you see something about kids. They watch you and do what you do. It's easier for them to pick what you do than for them to obey instructions. So fine, you want them not to be on their phone at a certain time. You too, you drop your phone at that certain time. So when you're eating, you drop your phone and you ask them questions. You communicate with them and so on and so forth. Okay, and then, so we are their role models. And for somebody like me that I'm a content creator, I try to show my kids that with technology, they can make money. There's so much they can do with technology. So when I'm creating content, whether I'm uploading them or I'm creating them, whatever, I call them and I teach them. So what I do is part of the time the boys will use to play ball, and part of the time the girls will use to just gist. They come create content. So right about now, everybody in the house is a content creator.
Ooh, I love that.
So it's either you know how to record or how to edit, you know, or you're acting, or you're dancing, or you're singing, or something. But you see, I mean, for the future, they have to be independent. So it's not just about giving them a fish. I need to teach them how to fish. And I've also had some experiences that weren't so good. Like I remember one day someone called me and said, one of my followers online, and said his mom just slipped in the bathtub and was rushed to the hospital. And they needed 100K for the medical attendance and so on. So I requested to speak with the doctor. I spoke with somebody who presumably I assumed to be the doctor. It was all a setup.
Oh, wow.
So things like that have happened to me. Eventually, immediately I parted with that money, the line stopped going. So you find out that somebody tells you, oh, I'm so and so. They're not really so and so. Why am I bringing it up? Because I've also had to carry my children along so they can learn from my experiences, so they don't have to experience what I have experienced. Now, listen to something that happened just some days ago. Some lady met a guy online after she had parted with her husband. So, you know, vulnerability. She was lonely and everything, so somebody started chatting her. Now she got involved with the person to the point where he invited her to come with her 2 sons to come and visit him in Abuja. She got to Abuja, got introduced to somebody that was the guy's mom, and the guy now said, okay, so leave your kids with my mom, and then we'll just go hang out and come back. She was sitting in the hotel room, and he got a call and stepped out. He didn't come back. After she waited for so long and he didn't come back, she now rushed outside, didn't see him, now rushed to the supposed house where she had met them and was told that nobody like that lived there. Her 2 sons were gone. Technology actually does a lot, but we must find ways to balance the good, the bad, and the ugly, just, you know.
Oh, that's such a touching story. It took me somewhere else. I love the fact that you are constantly telling your children the pros and the cons. Because yes, they might be seeing, oh, mommy makes a lot of money from social media, but I think it's also interesting that you are telling them for every good there is also the bad side to it, and it's nice that you are teaching them all of these things and exposing them. And then I have one more question to ask. Seeing that you've always carried your kids along your content creation journey, and now, I mean, you have 2 graduates, how do you think parents can actually approach advising their kids when it comes to the digital world, managing their screen time, advising them? How do you think they can approach it with these kids the older they get? You know, the older we get, right, it's always a bit difficult to, like, talk to us. Now we are now getting opinionated. How have you been able to manage that? What advice would you give to parents out there?
I'll be honest with you. You see, before, I would shout, you know, I would shout, I would scold. I don't shout and scold anymore. No. I'm not getting any younger.
Right.
You shout, you scold. You're the one going to end up with the headache. You're the one going to end up with the sore throat. So guess what? I've started negotiating. So yes, I want them to do something. I sit down, I have conversations with them, and I negotiate.
Right.
Like right now, if I tell you there's someone that I've asked that I'm going somewhere, you're going to record me. If I tell you what it's going to cost me, you won't believe. I'm telling you. So we just negotiate and, okay, so I don't want you doing this. And I want you doing this. So if you're going to meet someone online, it's fine. But you're not going to go seeing someone that you met online alone.
It's not safe.
I'm going to have names. I'm going to have parents' names. I'm going to have phone numbers and addresses. And I'm going to confirm. Call me conservative mom. It's okay. It's okay, but I'm just going to make sure that I confirm before you deal. So we just have this kind of talks and all that. Even the ones I know that does not go very well with them, I still tell them, I'm your mom, I can't tell you lies. I just need to say it anyway, and we get by.
That's interesting. Negotiation. I think I love that. I would say that sounds like a mix of gentle parenting with a touch of strict parenting. You can't keep shouting; they won't answer you. This generation of children, you have to have a dialogue. I must say I admire your parenting style a lot. It's really admirable. And you mentioned one of your children that are graduates is a medical doctor. So
2 of them.
2 of them are medical doctors. Interesting. So I was just wondering, seeing your intentionality and the fact that you actually allow them, you allow them into the digital space. I'm just wondering how you're able to balance things with their educational screen time and entertainment screen time. How are you able to find a balance, and what advice do you have for parents out there? Because it's really a lot. Sometimes they want to play games, and sometimes they're actually studying. And you know these kids can be smart. How are you able to balance both?
For starters, in my house, we all wear glasses. You know, because everybody is always,
Oh, interesting.
So they need to know the health challenges involved with being on the screen all the time. They need to know that there are other things they have to do with their lives. They need to know that they have to achieve results. They have to do things for themselves. And everything is not about screen time. You know, we have online, we have offline. So just make sure you do what you have to do. When it's time for online, you do online. When it's time for offline, you do offline. You know, you can't be online 24/7. And then, to be honest, I think children of these days understand when you care for them and when you're talking to them in love.
Yeah.
You know, because it's only when somebody feels that you don't have their interest at heart that they'll be unruly. Yes, but when they know that you care, when they know that you love them genuinely, they would listen.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Ma, for your time. I have had a fantastic time listening to you. Just to mention, I look forward to you releasing a book on parenting. I've learned a lot, and also these insights have been so helpful. I'm sure my viewers are entertained. They've learned a lot. So, dear viewers, please stay with us. After this break, Ugo returns for our wrap-up. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to spread the word. Thank you. Welcome back to the Teesas Podcast. Hey, Buka, wasn't Pastor Mrs. Ifoma fantastic, giving acts that's worth trying?
Absolutely, Supermo, absolutely. She gave so many insights that even I, as a single person, have already learned, and I'm looking forward to becoming a parent to use everything she said on this show
I know,
and
right?
apply them.
Absolutely. So, viewers, for me, I think smartphones can actually transform education with access to learning tools, but without balance, it would come off as a distraction. You know, it is important that you set limits, you filter content, like Pastor Mrs. Ifoma earlier mentioned. It is also crucial that you monitor progress and also involve your kids in the process, ensuring that you as a parent model good screen habits yourself.
True, Supermo. Also on safety, I believe that parents should try to navigate their children on the right side of the internet, especially when, you know, we have a lot of things going on in the internet. You see a lot of immoral content, so many things. You see children walking on the streets and they are with iPads. You don't even know what they are seeing or looking at. So parents need to actually guide their children on the safest way to use the internet.
I agree with you. And one thing they can do, I'm not a parent yet, but speaking from some of the tips Pastor Mrs. Ifoma shared earlier, is that they need to be able to filter what they do with different screen time. When are they studying and when are they actually playing? Because we need to have a balance. So maybe they can set like a study schedule or actually start like a family tech talk. Our guest earlier mentioned she involves her children in her content creation process. I think that's something they can emulate. That's something parents can emulate, because that way they're able to see the good side of digital technology. For me, I think it has a lot of advantage depending on what parents help their children understand, you know, what they do with it. It would amaze you to know that we have secondary students on LinkedIn these days. I read somebody's profile one day and I was blown. It was mind-blowing. At that age, I didn't even know what was called LinkedIn. I think I was busy trying to open a profile on Facebook, right? But so this parenting, the parenting of this time, like you said, they are navigating their kids towards the better direction. You know, they are trying to help them make the best use of the internet. So if you ask me, it depends on how these kids are exposed to the internet and what they use with their time, what they do with their time.
So, Supermo, I really agree with you, and I also want to add that parents should also check their browser history of their children, their cache. What are they looking at? What websites are they going through? What are they asking ChatGPT? AI is here now, and it's amazing. It can be used for good. It can be used for evil. So we need to check, what are your children doing with the internet, doing on the internet? Who are they talking to? What are they listening to? What are they watching? So I agree with you, and I feel the internet can be used for both good and bad. And I wish our parents could pay more attention to what their children are doing online, both recreational and educational. So that's what I have to say.
Absolutely, Ebuka, I agree with you. And speaking from that perspective, I would love parents to please share with us in the comment section their experience with their kids and their access to the internet. What have you found out so far? And what tips are you adopting to ensure that they have a responsible view of social media?
And don't forget, like, subscribe, and share this episode with every parent you know. Let's make the Teesas Podcast go viral and support Nigerian families in this digital age. Thank you very much.
And that'll be all for today, dear viewers. Join us next week for more insights. This is the Teesas Podcast, signing off.